he's not doing it. It's because they actually have a holiday in September. We can do that too. You know, we used to have, and it's National Heritage Day. We can do that.
Right here.
I said,
You don't have to hold it back. And I'll complain about that again.
look, at least she brought me. I remember, I said, I'm so sure they still have not put any.
Complain about it.
Passing the thing on.
Let me just get the front out real fast.
We have huge flags downstairs.
We're working. All right, everybody, good evening. Want to get this thing started? I start the night off with the pledge to the flag. If everybody please stand up. Pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks everybody for coming out. We appreciate you coming out here. I'm Harry Harper, Council President. I'm just going to introduce our candidates that are running. You may know them, you may not. First is Tracy Rigadelli. You want to stand up and tell them a little about yourself?
Sure. Well, good evening, everybody. My name is Tracy Rigadelli. Thank you, everybody, for coming. I appreciate everybody showing up. I just want to give you a synopsis, a little bit about myself. I know a lot of people, I've been in this town for well over 20 years, and I haven't been out and about. So I know a lot of people don't know who I am. So I wanted to let you know, make sure I jotted down enough notes. But I've lived here for 20 years. We bought our first house here right after 9/11. And when we moved out into this town, it hit us. It hit us hard. My son actually joined the Marines and went and fought in war for us. So that's how hard that hit. That kind of gave us at least gave my family, knowing that there's things that we can sacrifice and things we can stand up for, and it's worth it. Our voices to be heard is worth it. I've been in retail about 30 years. I've run quite a few multi-million-dollar stores. I've trained, I have dealt with budgets, and I have successfully made those stores in black. So at least a 20% increase year to year. So one of the other things that stands out to me is our education system. And we're paying an awful lot of money for our education to be in the bottom of the state. So that kind of hits home to me too. I have 4 generations in this town. At the end of August, my great-grandson will be in this world. So I have skin in the game. I really want to see things happen for this town, especially with our education. I'm not running because I think I have all the answers. I'm running because I know I'll be one of the people that's going to ask the question. I'm not scared to ask the question. I started with the warehouses. That's when I started getting my feet wet with the warehouses. And I can tell you, I watched, sitting at Mr. Doyle's house, I watched how much this town pulled together. And it gave me such a joy to see how good everybody can pull together in this town. They really care about the town. So tonight, I just wanted to introduce myself, and I want to be able to, have you guys ask any questions you want, and I would like to hear from you guys on what you think is great for this town, and where you think we need improvements. I do feel that we still need a lot of work in this town. It's not over yet. So, thank you.
All right, thank you, Tracy. Next up, we'll do Dan Dewey. I don't think he needs any real introduction, he's already on council.
Well, I'm the newbie here, I've only been here 73 years, born and raised here, and, I love the town, I love the people, love the community. I was retired, sitting home, bored, reading the Piney paper, what they were doing for my town. And I jumped in, I went to all the meetings a year prior to me throwing my name in the hat. I went to the planning board meeting, zoning board meeting, township meeting. And I observed, I took notes just to get my feel of what was going on with my town. And there was a lot of things I didn't like. And, I kept it kind of a secret that I was running, and I made it through the process of the interview. It took a month, I was accepted. And I ran, I worked hard, I did a lot of things ever since I was a young person. I grew up in a family business. I mentioned the other night, I know what it is to sacrifice. My father was self-employed in Pemberton Township. We had an appliance store, commercial refrigeration. He got on the ground level, putting central airs in houses. But I can remember as a young person, everybody got paid because things were bad, except the Dewey family. He always took care of his employees. And I was with my father all the time, and that's probably where I learned from him to be a giver, not a taker. And I am a giver. If I see somebody in need, I do whatever I can to help them. You know, I spent 41 years, well, over 50 years in the car business, and the biggest problem that I had is I was always on the retail side. Every day I had to make money for the company. I had to take care of my employees. I had to take care of their families. And with retail, you see the world a lot different than you do a municipal job. My job, I had to make money. Municipal level, their job is to waste money. And it drives me nuts when they waste money, because we're paying for it, the taxpayers. And the township needs a lot of help and improvement. And hopefully, you guys give me another 4 years and I'll work harder for you. But I want to see this town the best it can be. And the other thing, I'm very proud to have my 2 girls, and I think they're gonna be an asset for the Republican Club. You know, they haven't been thrown to the wolves yet, but they're 2 smart gals, and they're very level-headed, and I think that we can make things happen in Pemberton Township. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Next is Millie Tuchettas.
Okay, so, good evening, everyone, and I also echo, thank you for coming out and being willing to hear, you know, what we have to say, and being willing to share, what you feel is most important for our community. So, my background is I've worked in finances. I worked on Wall Street for 10 years. I worked in healthcare, DeBoer Heart and Lung Center for 15 years. I worked as a buyer planner, production supervisor. So I have a variety of exposure to different areas, whether it's planning or finances. So I have I would like to think, a good grasp on different areas that we are facing issues on. I believe that Pemberton's best days are still ahead of us. I don't want to be the voice, the loudest voice in the council, but I want to be the voice that's prepared. I want to be the voice of integrity. I want to be the voice that has done the research and is able to present to the community what they need to know. I did take some notes, and if you will humor me a little bit, I wanted to share some of the vision that I have. My vision for Pemberton is for it to become Burlington County's most desirable place to live, to raise a family, and to own a business. And that's gonna take for us to have a stronger tax base and well-maintained roads and infrastructure, and, you know, to continue to promote small businesses. If you follow me on Facebook, you'll see that a couple of weeks ago, I was visiting some of our eateries. There's no reason why we need to go to Mount Laurel or Mount Holly, you know, to eat at a place that has some good food. We have La Kiddo, we have Pie Kitchen, we have Ricardo's. You know, there's places in our neighborhood that we can go to and that we can support. And as we support them, they continue to thrive. And that's going to have other businesses outside of Pemberton looking and saying, hey, they have businesses that are thriving. Maybe we should go over there and see if we can be part of the group. So those are some things that I do on my own. I believe the biggest challenge that we're facing today is our taxes, the school tax, the funding formula. The issue with that is that we can't affect change in that, in a sense. We can look at shared services with the school system, but our biggest thing as residents and as people with a voice, we need to be calling Trenton, we need to be calling our senators, we need to be calling the people that can affect change, because even though we're local, we still have voices and we should be using them. The other thing is elections. We need to come out and vote. That is very important for us to be doing. For leadership, integrity, transparency. I think that we can make government a little bit more easier to understand for the residents. Let's make these resolutions easier to understand. Let's make it in a language where everyone knows what's happening. You know, let's bring some explanation to the decisions that are being made. Okay, maybe we can't. For example, I'll give an example of something that's coming up. It's the trash, right? We have a contract that's coming up. So we have a decision to make. Are we going to have that extension, that contract extended? Are we looking at in-house? So the general consensus is that we won't do in-house because it's not cost effective. But I feel like, okay, that's not enough for me to say to you as the resident, it's not cost effective. Let me show you why it's not. And I think that's an area, communication is a big area for me, is to be transparent in communication so that everyone knows what's happening and why. If you elect me, my door will always be open. You can come and ask me a question anytime and I'll be available. I am someone that will listen before deciding, and I'm gonna ask questions at the meetings. For those of you that have seen me at the meeting, I don't have a problem asking a question. We need to ask questions so that we can get clarity. And we need to continue to ask the question until we get the answer. So, I mean, there's more, but I think those are important for us. I think we should continue to promote Pemberton Proud. Pemberton is beautiful. It's a lake community. We have the Pinelands, we have so many resources. People were coming to Pemberton, to Browns Mills, because that's why I came 20 plus years ago. I'm a city girl. I'm originally from New York, but I've been in New Jersey more. So now I consider myself a Jersey girl. But I came to this area because of the lakes, because of the beauty. And so that's our number one thing, is to preserve the beauty. We still want to have development, but it can't be at the cost of losing our history, of losing the beauty of the Pinelands. There has to be a balance, and that is where I promise that I will work hard, making sure there is a balance in every decision that's made. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Julie. All right, I guess we're gonna open the floor to questions, one person at a time. If you have it directed at a particular candidate, let us know. Hang on to the balance. Or if it's just a general question, just say it's a general question. Alex, since you were the first one with your hand up, go ahead.
As candidates running for the Pemberton Township Council, how do you feel about the Charter Study Commission being approved by the current council, and do all three of you support it?
Lily, I guess you go first.
I believe that, it's worth taking a look at. I believe that, if we want to make sound, balanced decisions, that we should look at the different forms of government. That doesn't mean that I'm saying that we should change our government, but we can't really make and shouldn't make a decision without having all the information in front of us. So I support it. I support us having one and doing the research. I know it's not gonna happen overnight, it takes time, but I believe that there's value because it helps us to understand why we have the government that we have. Why the Faulkner Act, what is it, how does it work, how should it work, why isn't it working? So doing a research and having a committee, I think brings value, not just because we wanna change our form of government or think we do, but let's understand the form of government that we have.
Danny?
Everything in life has pluses and minuses. Now, I was involved years ago when we had a regular council, I wasn't a councilman, where the council picked the mayor. And the downfall of that system is you had 5 people on the council, and the 5 would get together and they would pick Alex to be the mayor. And then the other people left, the 4 were given department head jobs. So if you have somebody or people that don't have the experience of running a water department or a sewer department or a police department, you're gonna miss out on a lot of things. The Faulkner Act is good, but there's many different versions of the Faulkner Act. The bad thing is, in our past mayor, he did some bad things, and he didn't do some bad things. I firmly believe in my heart, I mean, I wasn't a fan of him, but I think some of the things that he got nailed with, he was set up for. But the problem was, the council, we had handcuffs on, we couldn't do nothing with Jack, because the people voted him in, and the people have to vote him out. But luckily for us, when we hit $2 million in insurance money, this insurance company stepped in and said, he's gotta go because we can't insure him. That's the only thing that saved our town. So if we could get a better hand, this commission is gonna cost the township a lot of money, and it's gonna take probably 2 years to pull it off. So it's nothing that's gonna happen this November, maybe next November will be on there. But I think that hopefully the commission looks at all varieties of the different Faulkner Act that fits our town. The other one is good, but you're gonna lose a lot with it, because you're gonna have, you're gonna have good people on the council, but if they can't read a ruler, you can't put them in charge of building and grounds. Because they have to make decisions for all of us. So with the Faulkner Act, we have superintendents and department heads that work for the township. They bring their project to us. Hopefully, administration reviews it before it comes to us. But we do have input in it. And I really think that we should take a good look at the Faulkner Act before we start changing everything, because it's gonna take 2 years and a lot of money. So that's my 2 cents on the change of government.
I do agree with, having it to look at the Faulkner Act. I've been asking for 5 years since we started with the warehouse, when the whole council plus the mayor was all Democrats. So, it's something that I've asked for 5 years. Every time I've gone up there, I do believe that we need to at least look at the 7 that is for us. There's 7 different levels of the Faulkner Act, or however you wanna say it. So I wanna see if something else changed, if it would work for us. It may not, and we might keep everything the same, but it does need to be examined. We do need to look at it. So I do agree with it.
All right, thank you, Tracy. Anybody else? Questions? Marty?
So, I'm here on behalf of the BMIA, and our membership has some questions. Okay, so, the first question is, Many residents are concerned about rising taxes, vacant commercial properties, and the perception of Pemberton Township throughout Burlington County. What specific actions would you take over the next 4 years to improve our economic vitality and make people proud to live, work, and invest here?
Can I answer?
Go ahead, Dan.
To give you a little history, the warehouses were already in the making before I ever got elected. And I'm gonna give you a little history about that. But when Mr. Patriarca was our mayor, there used to be a shopping center where the farmer's market is, it was called Pal Shopping Center. There was Bill's Auto Supply, a hardware store, a laundromat, JC Market. There was a lot of buildings there. And Mr. Patriarca style, condemn it, buy it, and tear it down. So under his leadership, we lost 12 businesses in Browns Mills. And then this fiasco with the new Acme, we lost John from Dairy Queen that was there since he was 17 years old, right? We lost Mr. Ellie. We lost the Foot Doctor. Ernie's Barbershop saw the handwriting on the wall, he left. There was 3 businesses left. You had the Acme, you had Riverside Bank, you had, I forget what the, big,
In a jewelry store.
well, jewelry store, you had a shoe store, you had a men's store. There was a big, pharmacy there, I think it was Rite Aid, maybe? Okay? So we had all this, and I don't wanna sound like a broken record, but everything was destroyed before us Republicans got here. In our first year, Josh and I got our brains beat out because their idea of businesses, they brought in cannabis stores. And I was dead against it, for the simple reason is, our town gets $200,000 a year because we're tattooed because we have a drug and alcohol problem. So the township takes the money, the $200,000, and who knows what they spend the money on, right? But we end up with 2 cannabis stores. And again, I'm sitting in the hearings, and it was a dog and pony show. We're gonna do $12 million a year in sales, and you guys are gonna get 8%. I didn't buy it, because I didn't vote for it. Last year, the one in Pemberton, correct me, Harry, if I'm wrong, what did they bring in, 150,000? We got about $88.
Yeah, we got about just shy of 40,000, I believe, for the
Okay.
year.
Oh, that's a big number. It's a long way from, 8% on 12 million. Now, are those types of businesses good for the town? I don't think it is. You know, my career, you know, CDL driver, I have to follow the federal government guidelines for drugs. You know, at any time I can be a text message, okay, go here and get drug tested. You know, it's legal in New Jersey, but as the moment, it's not legal federally. And they're the rules and laws that I have to obey by. And it was a sad day when they did that, you know? The township is not business friendly. If I rented a store and I wanted to open up a bait and tackle shop, because we got all these beautiful lakes and we have all these kids, and if I can get inexpensive fishing gear and get kids in there to get a fishing license if they're old enough, buy a fishing pole, and have, you know, and be involved with the town, I would do it in a heartbeat. But if I rented a building, put the shelving in, put the inventory, what's the number one thing that you need to be successful? You need a sign. And after you rented the place, renovated the place, put your inventory in, you would be lucky if you could get a sign permit for under $20,000, because this town is not business friendly. So there's a lot of changes that have to be made to make this town want to come in and do a business. Did I hit all the notes that you
Yeah,
wanted?
I think that's a really good answer. Yeah, kind of going through the history of what happened.
And we lost a lot of good businesses.
Reform for, especially for a sign permit.
Exactly, and, you know, and if it's electric sign.
We all have been talking about a fish and tackle shop, you know, bait and tackle for a long time, because people have to leave the town to go get those products. And that's a hindrance.
When I was growing up, the fundraisers, there was probably 30 gunning clubs in Pemberton Township. And one of their big fundraisers every year, spring, they would raffle off a complete fishing, the pole, bait buckets, everything, lures, the whole 9 yards. And it was a complete sellout. People were stepping over people to get tickets.
Yeah.
You know, we have the facilities, we have everything, except we don't have the right laws on the books to make businesses wanna come in here.
That's very simple, okay.
Tracy, Noah, you guys have anything to add to that?
The only thing I was gonna, say was, the rate of, our return on our investment, right? Dan gave a perfect example of how we had a business that sounded good. They were going to give us, how much was it, 8%? 8%.
On 12 million.
On $12 million.
That was their-
Well, I'm like, I wanna see where you have operated this business somewhere else, and I wanna see the results. I wanna see where you brought in that money. Because if our investment is gonna be less than what we're bringing in, then that doesn't help us. I'm not for, the dispensaries either. But these are kind of things, like how, how we're vetting, these businesses. And I want, my thing is, I wanna see a history of where you have operated this same business and you've brought in $12 million. Okay, maybe it's not the same environment, maybe it's not the same neighborhood, but those are the kind of things. What is our return on investment? And I wanna see it. I wanna see the proof in the evidence before making a decision.
If I could tag on to that, my feeling is when they presented the cannabis stores, and like I said, they were already in the works when we got on, and every time Josh and I, we lost 100 decisions, 3-2, 3-2, 3-2 for 2 years. Right? We couldn't stop anything because we were outnumbered. I look at things differently. If a cannabis store can come in Browns Mills and do $12 million worth of business, then why couldn't we have a quality steak restaurant? You know, if you can spend the money to get high, you should be able to support a good restaurant. I mean, that's the way that my brain works, you know? But see, our town is, we got 2 or 3 massage parlors. We have a smoke shop that I've never seen a car at. I don't know how they're paying the bills.
So we have to decide what kind of town we wanna be.
Right.
And what impression we wanna give.
You know, you got 15 pizza places, and I'm not a Dave Portnoy, but out of 15, there's not too many good pizza places in town, but everybody sells pizza, you know? And, the town is just going in the wrong direction, you know? And I got ideas for that too, but if it comes up, we'll discuss it.
Well, one of the things that I would do with that is, first we would have to fix some of the regulations that we have to bring the businesses in. Because if we can't make it appetizing for them, they're not gonna come. Another thing I would do is vet these people that were, you said that you wanna know all this, give us a business plan, do this, but how many times have they stood at that planning board or stood at the council meetings and just downright out lied to us? And we bought it, hook, line, and sinker. So I think vetting is the number one thing that we need to do.
No, vetting.
But, so that's.
How are we vetting them? That's important.
I got like $20,000 for a permit for a sign.
Well, you have the application for the sign, and if it's neon or anything to do with electrical, now you need an electrical engineer. And then depending on how you're gonna mount it on the building, now you, in the structure, right? So when you get all through that, then you got whatever money, you gotta get the guy to make the sign. Right, so you got zoning board, cause you gotta change the zoning, probably the planning board. You know, it could take you 6 months to get a sign,
Wow.
and it's crazy.
I I know when I opened up my business down in Merchantville, I think it cost me $50. They had a picture of the sign and went up before the meeting, and by the end of the meeting, everything was all approved.
Here's a quick story. 2 years ago, we decided to put a generator in our house. So I fill out the application, I go to Pemberton Township, and they say, oh no, you're a councilman, that's a conflict of interest. All right. I said, can I go to the borough? Sure. Now, the permit price that I was given at Pemberton Township for my generator was $600. I was ready to pay it, because I needed it. I go to Pemberton Borough, I give her my business card, shoot that I'm a councilman, and they said it was a conflict of interest, that I had to come here. I had all the paperwork, the estimate from the electrician, where it was going, the whole 9 yards. And he said, Mr. Dewey, we'll have your permit for you tomorrow. I said, okay. I never asked him a price. They called me 3 o'clock the next day, your permit's ready. What do I owe you? $95. So when I got back to the township, I thanked them for saving me money.
Yeah.
This is how they operate, you know what I mean? Everything's out of control. And that's my personal experience dealing with Pemberton Township.
Anyone else?
So I have a question for you. As a former 12-year school board member, I've been to Trenton advocating for the school systems since the S2 started. Now, I came on the Board of Education in 2013, 2014. We were very well versed on the funding issue. So we survived the S2, and then the insurance thing came along. But my question to you guys are, how willing are you to get on a school bus and go with us and advocate for Pemberton? Because it has not happened. When you have the superintendent and a couple school board members going, it's not making an impact. I don't want my taxes at 26%. I'm a lifelong resident here.
Number one, we have to know about what you're doing.
Okay.
And I would go in a heartbeat. But the problem isn't with Trenton. Well, it is in Trenton. The biggest problem that you have in Pemberton Township is called the Pinelands Commission. Because technically, you can't even put a shovel, you could own 100 acres. And if you want to build a pole barn, where do you see that fiasco? Because of Pinelands. Pinelands has got this town screwed. You know, the pole bridge, to give you an example, that was going through the planning board for 17 years. And it was all regulations. And they weren't the most honest people. And that's one of the reasons, after 17 years, they got kicked to the curb. They gave us a bill. We spent $300,000 and we never found a pine snake on this property. Dr. DeVito and Rick Brown went there within an hour and found 6 nests. We even caught guys coming out of the woods with corn sacks full of snakes. What are you doing? Oh, we're catching snakes and relocating them. This is the kind of people we were dealing with, and it goes back to vetting people when they come in here. You know, but you're not gonna see any big improvements in Pemberton Township until something happens with Pinelands.
And Dan, in all due fairness, I appreciate your comment, but you gotta understand, when you're on the Board of Ed and you understand how everything works, the piece of the pie is, a lot of our revenue comes from North Jersey as far as the school systems. But when you have a municipality budget up here and the school system is here, so now it's finally reversed, it's the way it should be. But again, my question, how willing are you guys going to be to help us advocate for our district?
whatever we can.
Advocate for our
Let us
district?
know and we'll be there.
Yeah, okay.
Because I pay my share of taxes in town, and I don't have any kids in school,
Neither do I anymore.
Just let us know.
but I would be glad to help in a heartbeat.
Anybody else with any questions?
I have a question.
Mr. Iverson.
Question, I haven't been over here in a while, about an accountability issue, and this is nothing against the workers at DPW, but the head honchos. What in the heck do you call this out here? I mean, that is a disaster in that parking lot. With piles of stone and dirt and weeds growing up on it, you still got water backed up, it looks like mosquito central out there.
Well,
Would we have not Well, once again, do we have anybody that knows how to look at grades, read a set of blueprints? It's not that difficult. I mean, if they want help, I'll sit down with them. But this is atrocious. Half the parking spots are piles of dirt and stone and sand.
The piles are out there because of an ongoing construction project for safe routes to school. That's where the town let the subcontractor, put all their stuff until the project's done.
So it's a subcontractor, we're not doing it?
No,
It's the sidewalks and.
Safe routes to
handicap
school.
ramps.
Oh, that is only
But
going
yes.
I thought kind of the same thing when I pulled in because.
Yeah, I almost asked it.
I don't know, the last time I was here
Well,
was probably.
that's gonna be concrete, correct? And sidewalks and stuff?
Yes.
So what does riprap have to do with?
There are certain areas where they have to do drainage, as it runs. It's not all sidewalks, there's drainage that goes along with it in some of these areas.
All right, well, if that's there for that, okay.
Yeah.
But the water backup out there in that swale, it's supposed to be going the way that it's going, isn't happening very well. So apparently, we still ain't got the bridge right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the trash pile, what's that?
Just gonna say, can I piggyback that with a follow-up question?
Sure, go ahead.
I seem to remember not too long ago, one of our council meetings, that we, had to grant Wawa approval for a subcontractor to go off Pemberton Township ground, just to do some remediation work or something behind that Wawa on Arnie's Mount Road. That had to come through council for permission.
Yeah.
Only been here 2 years, but I don't remember anybody coming to us asking if they can pile their stuff on here as a contractor on township property. I don't remember giving any approval for that. And also, where's the safety fence that should be around it? I just came in here, there's a dozen kids on bikes. First time those kids started throwing rocks at other people's windows or cars going by. Again, I'm not just saying kids are destructive, I'm about riding their bikes up over these stone piles. We have nothing safety netted in place to even give our residents to say, hey, this is gonna be here for a short time, I know it's an inconvenience, but again, where did council permission come for that? I don't remember.
I think you find out it's an administration decision, because it never came to us.
I'm agreeing with you, but I'm asking, why didn't? That's township property out there, right?
Yes.
And they just want permission to go across
It's the people's
our train
property.
station, they're not gonna store anything on it, they just wanna drive across it. We had to give them permission for an ordinance. But I think that's something we need to visit ASAP.
I can talk to the VA tomorrow about it. I know there was some delays there, they had to pull off the job because, the planning firm that planned the job didn't set some grades right. So, I don't know if there was,
And that just came up from Mr. Patterson, but I did have one question for all three of them, if I may. Millie, you made a point about something with the taxes and stuff in the schools and things like that. I heard a couple of comments, Danny, but I want to ask all three of you. Your personal opinion, nothing to do with politics or anything. What do you feel personally is the biggest thing facing Pemberton Township that needs to be corrected so that we can do the things that everybody's talking about doing?
Tracy, you wanna take that?
All three of you got a different answer on this.
I would say that the spending of the money, the accountability is one of the things that bothers me. Things are going through that we don't understand, we're not being explained to. I think that's, if we're gonna have buy-in from our townspeople, we need to have more of an explanation, to get everybody to understand what we're doing first. The second thing then I would look is payroll. I'm sorry, I just think the town is way too
I'm
heavy.
sorry, say it, payroll?
Payroll.
Okay.
The number one thing that you can see immediately, if you change, is your payroll. You will see a discrepancy change immediately. And I just think I just don't think our people need to take a second job to pay our taxes. I think that's wrong. So I think we need to weed out a little bit, that's me.
I'll let you, thank you.
I think one of the biggest challenges we have too is balancing growth with affordability, right? Because we want lower taxes, we want better services, we want economic opportunity without losing what makes Pemberton special, right? But that requires financial management, sound management, thoughtful economic development, long-term planning. So whenever we're making a major decision, we should be asking, will this make Pemberton Township stronger 5, 10, 20 years from now? We have to start making the right decisions based on the right questions, accountability, we have to be transparent, and we need to have the right answers. We can't skirt around issues. We can't go to meetings and ask questions and not get answers. And then the answers are vague, and we leave the meeting sometimes worse than we were when we got there. Listen, I want to, if I'm elected, when my term is over, I would hope to leave Pemberton better than it was when I first got there.
Well, to give you a little history and how this started, probably about 30 years, 40 years, the federal government came up with this program. It was called Farm Homes. And it was designed for low-income people. And out of that project, there was 1,000 houses added to Pemberton Township. They were built on a slab. Country Lakes, there's gotta be 800 of them. Their mortgage payments were $90 a month, but they had to pay the township directly for their taxes. So within 5 years, 90% of that farm homes that were sold to us, because Mount Laurel didn't want the people, Morristown didn't want them, Pemberton Township took them. So we had all these farm homes. And when they all got repossessed, it was either they didn't make the mortgage payment or they were tax liens. So being that the federal government was involved, the houses were boarded up for over 10 years before they opened the gates to let the slumlords come in and buy them up. Right? So that's when your problem started. You have, like, back to the schools, there's 4,400 kids in school this year. 60% of them got free lunches. Out of the 44, there's probably 2,000, I don't know the exact figure, but I'd say it's about 2,000. And that's one of the reasons we need all the school aides. And to be a school aide, you have to live in the township. And the school board wanted to kick them to the curb, so I don't know, it has to be close to 100 aides. You know, you were gonna kick 100 taxpayers to the curb to have a private sector come in and be the aides that didn't get benefits, didn't get paid snow days, or nothing. Does that make sense? It doesn't make sense to me, because you have to be a resident in the town to work for the school board on an aide job. But here we are, things are bad enough, and they wanna kick 100 taxpayers to the curb. Is that fair? I don't think so. You know, I'm gonna spin it a little bit more. Schools open 180 days. 20 years ago, they probably had over 10,000 kids in school. Now they got 4,400. The top end management is almost $6 million. And the kids are only there 180 days, and the budget's 140 million. Our township is 64 square miles. We have about 27,000 residents, and our public works is on call 365 days a year. If it snows, they're out plowing roads. If it's a tornado, they're cleaning up trees. We have over 100 employees, and our budget is what, 44 million?
No, 31 million.
31 million. So how can we take care of 64 square miles, 27,000 people, and they got 4,400 kids and a top-end heavy upper management for 140 million? There has to be a problem somewhere, or maybe it's me. You know, I mean, there's things that have to be looked at. You know, education is a recession-proof business. If you start January off and things are rocking and rolling, and March comes and you have the worst recession that you ever had, and you've got 50% unemployment, people are going to the food pantries, the country is on its knees, it still goes on for the schools. It doesn't stop. It's a recession-proof business. And their answer, when they waste money, raise the taxes. And there has to be better controls, and we have, as a group, we have to screen people that are running for our school boards. You can't have a housewife that signs up to be on the school board so she can get away for her kids a couple hours. You need qualified people on that school board that know what they're doing. You can't have somebody spending other people's money, and that's what we have. How can one be 31 million and one's 140? You know, we have equipment at the municipal, between dump trucks, machines and everything, are worth more money than the school buses. I talked to somebody at the school board, I said, how come you haven't bought buses in 8 years? Well, we were waiting for a grant from the state to get electric buses. What are you, crazy? You can't even get them to plug the diesel buses in the wintertime. How are you gonna get them to plug a bus in? I said, if you're out on Pasadena Road and the battery's dead, you're not gonna go out and jump it. You know, you're gonna need a truck with a 500-watt generator and sit there for a couple hours charging the bus up. It doesn't make any sense, plus all the tools and the training you gotta do. But that's how people think that don't know what they're doing. So we have to get better people on our school board. That's all I got.
Anybody else, any questions? Yes, go ahead.
I've been coming to meetings recently, so I'm just gonna officially introduce myself. I'm Crystal Boyd, and I am the founder of God's Fruit Homeschooling Co-op, which will begin its first semester season in Browns Mills in September. We have currently 6 registered families with about 9 more who have showed interest. One of the biggest things that my mission work has done for families, especially more my generation families, because you guys have seen an uptick in the community of people more my age with younger kids coming in the last few years that are disconnected. One, they have government fatigue. They really don't want anything to do with government anymore. And they are more interested in wellness and alternative education. So my biggest question here, because I have an ear with these families, is how do you guys feel about bringing supportive systems to Pemberton, because they can't stand the Acme here. And it's such a far drive for the families to leave to try to go anywhere that will give them decent food, fresh produce, things like that. And how do you guys feel about alternative education like homeschooling?
Well, I'll tell you how I feel. I hope you're very, very successful. And I know right now we have 2 empty schools, and I'd love to see you fill them. You know, they're sitting there, they're empty, they're storing junk in it, but it's still costing the taxpayers money. And I'd rather see somebody with your talent and your ambition to fill the school. Because I got 2 grandkids, and the way this world is today, I feel so bad because my 2 grandkids don't have a chance. With everything going on in this world, it's crazy. And hopefully I'll be able to leave them enough to survive. But I don't see my grandkids buying a house. You know, and thank God they're both straight A students, and I'll do whatever I can to make them succeed. But I feel so sorry for these kids today.
I think it's great to give parents a choice in the matter. I know how many people, my grandson just graduated from Pemberton High, and he was at one of the things at BMIA. There's not a lot of choices unless you wanna just, you know, put your kid at the computer and you homeschool, or send them to Pemberton. I know there's been a lot of children that had problems with COVID, when all schools shut down. My grandson's one of them. He had a hard time adjusting. So I think that if you have an alternative for the parents, I think that is a wonderful idea, and I support you 100%. And I also would like to try to get more businesses into town. As you had said, that the Acme is a little distance, and it is very pricey, but I mean, we look for alternatives for you, for the town, so that we can, you know, curb that lovely grocery bill and stuff, so working on it. So I have some ideas. I'd like to try to get Dollar General in there. They have their own grocery stores.
Well, I can tell you personally, I live in Howell, and my Acme in Howell is cheaper than yours.
It's the bridge in Pemberton, everything's more money when it goes over.
I fully support homeschooling. Our daughter, our son and, our daughter-in-law is homeschooling their children. I know, a variety of people that are, and I'm all for school choice. I'm all for providing an alternative for parents for various reasons. You know, it's not just because the school system, you know, somebody might say it's not great, you know, it's not just that, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of support that's needed in the schools that, you know, even when we talked about the aides and not having the aides, we have students with 504s, we have students with IEPs. We need a consistency when it comes to aides. We can't just say today, you know, let's call the temp agency and get an aide. And it doesn't work that way. That's not, you know, that's not helpful, that's not fair to the kids. You know, so if we can provide something that's an alternative, I'm all for that. And I will support you in any way as well, because I think that our children, this is the thing, our children are the future. They're the future generation, they're the future business owners, they're the future councilmen and presidents and congressmen and senators. And, you know, what are we providing for them so they can succeed? And like Councilman Dewey said, you know, I feel terrible for my grandchildren. What kind of world are they gonna be facing? So we have an opportunity right now, this generation, your generation, to make a difference and to provide what is gonna help them be successful. So I'm all for it.
Anyone? Pat?
Yeah, my name is Pat Guthrie. I'm actually made the decision to run for the school board myself. I've been here in Pemberton for 58 years. I started first grade in Pemberton Township. I don't know your name, I actually recognize you because I've seen you do an awful lot for the school system. Thank you very much for that. I've seen you with me going to school there, plus my son going to school there. I had moved away from Pemberton when I got married, and when I had a child, I came back because I love Pemberton Township High Schools or all the schools, the teachers, everything. I wanted my son to go to Pemberton. I was very happy with Pemberton when my son went there, and he graduated also with honors. The homeschooling does scare me a bit because we have a large percentage of kids that are now being sent to private schools and doing homeschooling and not attending our schools. And we need that attendance to help. And we need someone in the school system. I don't understand what happened. You know, I'm being told by parents that their kids don't know how to write cursive anymore. Their faces are in front of computers.
That's all schools.
Whatever happened to the good old school books? Those things were great. You got the school book from the last year, and you see notes in it, and you could actually learn more by reading other students' notes written in the books. That's why I want to get in, because I don't understand what is happening to our school. Not that I'm totally against homeschooling, but I learned a lot, and I think public school is great, and I would like to emphasize on the suggestion that Terry made. We need the council to step forward too and help the schools and go to where the school needs. I believe Senator Tiger is now trying to get additional money for our schools due to the Pinelands. So we need to support him also so he can get more money for Pemberton Township. Because I'd really like to find out what's going on with our schools, and I think the council should take an interest in it also. Because our kids aren't learning and something is wrong, something's broken. And to make Pemberton great, we need to have a great school system too. So I'm kind of wondering, what is it that, like, are you guys gonna help support the schools? Is there something that we can do to try and figure out what happened? Because this is only something that's happened in like the past 20, 25 years. Was it COVID that caused our schools to take a dive. I mean, I really don't understand it, because we do have wonderful teachers, we have wonderful athletic programs, we have the ROTC, I mean, Pemberton was a great school. And just to hear some of the stories of what's coming out of them is really scary, and it's making people wanna leave Pemberton because of that. So we do need more support for the schools, and I'm hoping the council would be able to figure out how they can go about doing that.
Patty, it's the whole state, and it starts in Washington. The NJEA makes the Teamsters look like a bunch of Girl Scouts. It's so powerful. And it started in Washington. The money trickles down. They get the money. In New Jersey, all your rich towns with the big money get all the big money, right? When it gets to us, it's trickles way down. It's not equal the way that they do the system. I mean, years ago, we were an Abbott district, which was 10 times worse, and the gentleman that was the president of the school board that stopped it is sitting right there, Mr. Doyle. We had great leadership with Mr. Doyle and Jerry Jerome and all the big guys, and it fell apart over the years.
Well, I think our schools need to, like, maybe we need to get into a battle with the Washington and all of this stuff, because
One of the things
I just had a school board member tell me the other day, I kid you not, that we have to keep on, like, putting more money and making things more, like, one of the reasons why taxes went up 26% is we need to be competitive with Lenape. I'm sorry, we don't need to be competitive with Lenape, because Lenape, there's millionaires and so much money that's going into that school. We need to be competitive for our residents and base it on the average income of Pemberton Township, not some of these other rich schools, because we had the quality and the care back when I went there and when my son went there. And I'm trying to figure out how can we get that back?
Well, I'll tell you one way, is vote for Justin Murphy for Senate. He's 2 towns over in Tabernacle, he's one of us, he was born and raised in Tabernacle, he's an outstanding person, and at the end of the day, if he gets elected, we will have a friend in Washington, where we can call him and tell him what we need, and he'll fight for us. Cory Booker has not done a thing for this South Jersey ever since he destroyed Newark and then he went to Washington. He's never done a thing for us. And the same thing with Andy Kim. He's from Cherry Hill. He's never done a thing for South Jersey. And we need friends in Washington. And this is a tough state to put a Republican there. I can go into a little bit of history. Camden County owns Burlington County. George Norcross runs Burlington County. And we have to get the right people in office. And like even with the school board, the word that stands out the most with the school board is accountability.
Yeah, they have to be willing to work with
You
us.
know?
We'd have to be able to go together. I mean, I know Washington's a big thing, but if we wanna make any kind of, in our town, I think both sides have gotta be able to work together to come up with a plan. It can't be because you're on that side of the fence or you're on that side of the fence.
Like in Pemberton Township, you're not 90% pine lands and the rest of your ground is surrounded by the federal government. We're landlocked. We can't do nothing. You know, if they struck oil in Pemberton Township, you'd never be able to drill a well because of pine lands. You know, and you got the federal government. It surrounds Browns Mills. That's why we need help in higher places.
Hi, I'm Vern. I know, sorry I was late. My question to you guys is, when you win, how about, informing the community? We struggle because we are such a large community, getting the word out from point to point to point. And if one more person tells me it was on Facebook, well, that's fine, but I'm not on Facebook. And the signs, when you ride by at 45 miles an hour, you can't read them. So we spent all that money, I know it was a grant, for signs that you have to turn around and drive back by, turn around and drive back by, to find out what the sign says. There's no one place to get information on what's happening in town. And is there any way possible that we can get the planning and zoning online so that when people are home and can't get to the meetings, they can still be informed? Is there any way possible that Zoom could be brought in so that when we're caring for an alien parent, we can ask a question because we can't get there? If we're sick and we still have input, is there any way possible that you guys would be on board? I mean, we have a tech support group. There should be something, because we're paying for it, that somebody could come up with something somehow to keep our community up to date on everything that's going on. Because the people I called today to see who was coming tonight didn't even know about this meeting. And I know that it was advertised on Facebook, but there's a lot of people that aren't on Facebook, and there are times of the year when certain people can't come to the meetings, but would like to attend via tractor to hear what's happening. And while he's going across the field, feel free to input, but he can't speak on the YouTube because I'm sitting there chatting his questions in, but nobody's monitoring the chat. So like it's a one-way conversation, and then you guys don't even know that we were asking questions because again, you're up there doing your thing. So when you guys win, will you open up the door for two-way conversation with the townsfolk and you guys?
I absolutely will. I have actually been at the meetings asking for that, especially since Michelle fought about getting the council meetings on Zoom. We finally have them on Zoom. And I've been asking to have the planning board and the zoning board to also be on Zoom, since they're in the same area. And it's something I've been asking for, and I would definitely open up the board, see if we can get that interactive one. Like you said, we pay for it anyway. What are we paying for?
Yeah, other towns,
let's get it going.
We can attend other towns, next town over, 2 towns over, a town 40 miles away. We can attend those meetings, but we can't attend the one that we live in.
I agree.
Vern, if I could add something, what I would like to see is when the township finally posts the agenda on the, you have a computer where you get on the township. When they post the agenda, I think all the resolutions should be posted too, so that you guys can read it. Because it would probably knock an hour off the meeting and save poor Alex to ask 27 questions. You know, because, I mean, and then I'm not being smart, but he would see the resolution, and then he could click on it and read it and see what they're up to. Okay? I believe that that should be. The people of town should have all the information they can get. You know, and how many times do people ask questions and it's like 5 years nobody answers the question, you know? And a lot of the questions should be directed to the administration. And, you know, lately you've been getting some answers, but, you know, it should be, everything should be up front.
Yeah.
Should be no secret.
Transparency with accountability.
Right.
And I feel it should be in a language that we can understand.
And another thing that I strongly suggested, it's slowed up a little bit, but anybody that submits a resolution, it should have their name on it, who authored it, and the date. Because in the past, I was up there and I'm reading resolutions, and I knew where they came from. And when I asked the question to the right people, they looked like deer in the headlights. Because I knew they came from Medford, and they shouldn't have been on our agenda, and you couldn't get an answer. So, I'm a firm believer, if you want a resolution, you put your name, you sign your name and the date, the whole 9 yards, so, transparency.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's good.
Some similar questions and, for you, Pat, I know about the schools and everything, and when teachers started teaching to the standard testing to raise up the scores for the state over other states, I think that's where the downfall came. If we can let teachers teach, instead of teaching for a test, that, you know,
I don't think it really matters, because it's not like the SATs or anything. So we have teachers that will teach. I think that'll change. And to, Crystal's point, you said something that concerns me, because you said like people your age and younger are not really interested in government. And I know I've said before, how can we get more people out to the council meetings, to the planning board meetings, to the zoning board, and to these type meetings? When I find out about them, I, post them on the Nextdoor app, and I tell people, but it's like talking into thin air, because no one's interested, and there has to be a way that we can make people interested in, government. Get some new ideas from new people that are coming into, Pemberton. I'm a new resident, I'm fairly new, I've been here for 4 years. But I came here from Union, New Jersey, same thing, Millie, because I like the lakes, I like the pine barrens, I like the peaceful and the quiet. But I immediately got involved, but I wish more people would come here and get involved, because it's very important that, the community knows what's going on and knows how you can help them. So I was wondering, can you think of any way that we can get people more interested?
Well, the trick to get people involved, it's only one word: free. Vote for me and you're gonna get free buses. Vote for me, you're gonna get free food. That's the only thing that stimulates them, And when I was growing up, I could remember, number one, at 40 years old, when I was a young man, they were wore out, and they were usually dead between 60 and 63, because they worked their butts off. But I could remember, we're kids, we're playing and hearing 100 times, you guys will never amount to nothing. Because they were the greatest generation in the world. My grandfathers and all that stuff, But I can remember, you guys, you'll never be nothing. Well, I don't think I did too bad. But these kids today scare me. Because I got friends, that are still working, and I call them because I like to mess with them. I say, Judd, how you feeling? I'm feeling good. I say, you going to work? Yeah. I said, that's great. I said, my social security check's due Thursday. I just wanted to make sure you're still working. Because the whole time I was working, I was paying everybody else's social security, But,
If I could, I'd like to say something. I've been showing up to a lot of town meetings lately, and I have expressed there is a huge information fragmentation that goes on in Pemberton Township. I'm monetized on social media, on Facebook, and I'm also Meta verified. So I have a little bit of insight in what goes on your social media platforms that other people don't have. You guys are not getting reviews. I've been showing up to places like the Nesbitt Center and things like that, and wonderful opportunities. Nobody has any idea what's going on. And if anybody's willing to work with me, I'm willing, and I already have it in a form that I can help Pemberton Township with the information fragmentation that you guys are currently experiencing, so that you can connect people to my generation, because you're gonna find my generation on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, now Threads. That's how they're going to get interested. Secondly, I can address the government fatigue, and a lot of that has to do with the simple fact that our politicians are predominantly, seems to be predominantly cares about those that can finance their pockets more. And a lot of people just don't feel like their government cares about them anymore, so they don't care. I'm 41 years old and I've never registered to vote, because I don't believe in our system of government that much.
we can sign you up tonight.
I don't live in Pemberton, unfortunately. But I can address that. And one last thing, I'm sorry. I'd like to address the education and what I'm hearing, why people are turning away from public education. And it is the curriculum does not support the growth of their students. The time frames, being there all day long, it's not doing anything but tiring out their child. They just don't feel like the public school system supports the growth of their student individually anymore. And that's why you're seeing an uptick in those people removing their children out of public school. That's what I'm hearing.
Are you talking about reading, mathematics and science and history? Those are the things that they're not being taught, or what exactly are you referring to?
One of the biggest things that they struggle with is their math and their literature and reading comprehension. That's their biggest thing. And another big thing is they don't feel like they support early education enough, that it's not supported in the elementary school ages.
Well, I think one of the saddest things with schools is they don't even teach history. So you've got kids right now, 25 years old, and if you ask them about 9/11, they don't know nothing. And I think history, if they would make them read history and get an idea how this country was started and the people that sacrificed, maybe they'd have a little bit more respect. But you can't blame the kids if they don't offer it in schools. History is a big, big thing in your life.
The other thing, and I was gonna bring this up before, there seems like one thing we keep missing, the parents' responsibility to help their kids.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, when I was a kid growing up, I wasn't allowed to do anything, and like with all my friends, until you did your work, and your parents sat down with you and did everything. The kids come home from school now, as long as they're not bothering the parents don't seem to want to get involved, and they're on the video games, they're on these, like the PlayStation where you play with your friends and stuff. And,
Like, I agree, but, like, I know how old I am, but when I grew up, every night was dinner as a family,
oh, absolutely.
okay? And you talked, you did your homework. Now, the way this world is so screwed up, the father has to work, the mother has to work, and they might have a second job. And the kids grow up on chicken McNuggets. They don't have a meal together. And we lost values in this country. And I understand it, Here's a story that goes back many years ago when Rockefeller became a senator. This is after World War II. And, he's a big money man. He's up in Washington, and he says, we got this all wrong. Because when I grew up, we went on vacations, we had dinner together, we did it as a family. Rockefeller says, we got this screwed up. He says, these people have it too easy. We gotta get both parents having to work.
Tax both of them.
And now you've doubled your federal income tax. Now, when we were growing up, who would have thought for a million years to watch TV was gonna cost you $300 a month? We had rabbit ears and 4 channels. And there was plenty to watch on TV, it was all good. Now you got 300 channels and you can't find nothing to watch.
My father made my poor mother hold the aluminum bowl on top of the
Yeah.
antennas, so you could watch one of his shows.
But we had a good life.
Oh, absolutely.
When I was growing up is when the country and America was the best. It was after the war, they're building houses, people are getting married, If it wasn't for World War II, I wouldn't be here. But it's a different world, and I'm not proud of it or happy.
All right, just a few things to address. The mass communication to get the word out. The township needs to have a centralized email that people can sign up in the community to get notifications of events and different things that are going on.
That's a good idea.
Mount Holly does it, Metro does it.
It's a really good.
Can you set it up?
Well, you're paying a tech guy, so I don't wanna encroach on his contract.
Yeah, but I'm saying, he's looking for a job, we can hire him to set it up, we can make a new department.
Secondly, how are we going to address bringing more people in to stimulate the economy?
What do you mean?
Well,
We don't,
we need some traffic flow through town so that we can have some more business, people can come and patronage our businesses a little more. In order to get another grocery store, I'm sure they look at the flow of traffic coming into town as well as going out.
well, let's work on getting the first grocery store.
Where are we at on that?
Ask him.
We have updates lately that they've come to terms with one, but they haven't finalized anything yet. That's all I know at this point.
Okay.
Come to terms with what grocery store, how come they're not saying?
Well, they don't wanna say anything until they have a deal set in stone, so they just said they've been negotiating pretty steady with one, and they would be commenting on it when they got a firm answer. Yeah, so that's all we know at this time. Yeah.
Do they have to do it within 2 years?
Yes, that's what the agreement is, yeah.
And if they don't, then what?
Well, the property can revert back to the township, we can take it over from there, but we're hoping that it doesn't get to that point, we're hoping they're good to their word. At this point, they're negotiating with somebody, so that tells me that's a good sign, they said once they started tearing the place down, they would be more, able to give the people a time frame and stuff, so we just gotta let them see what they can do. They do communicate with the administration about every 2-3 weeks, let them know what's going on.
And it's definitely not a mom and pop grocery store, it's a real grocery store.
Yeah, yes, from what I understand, it's a brand name grocery store, yes, yeah.
I got another question. The three of you, how important is updating the infrastructure that we haven't updated yet? The rest of the pipes that are not being replaced yet? Making sure that the power companies are investing in energy infrastructure so that we don't have any more power outages like we experienced
That's not
July.
gonna happen. The only way that can happen, Alex, and it'll never happen in my lifetime or yours, but if you want electric free, you have no loss of electric, everything's gotta be put in the ground. You can't have wires hanging from a telephone pole. Pemberton Browns Mills Road, they nail 3 or 4 a month. When they snap the pole off, the wires are down, you're gonna lose your electric. If you want, you're gonna have to move to a development where all your utilities are underground. It's not gonna happen in this town.
What about upgrading the substations? Can you guys pass a resolution or ordinance?
No, because we don't own them, Jersey Central does.
Yeah, but they're operating them within the township. Can't we force them to upgrade them?
It'll cost you more.
They'll raise your rate, they'll raise your rates, but.
Private industry that owns it, they're gonna charge you back on the back end for the taxes here to make your money up, or your rates currently that you pay to that company will go up higher for modern infrastructure. So right now, what you have is called like a temporary Band-Aid. What you saw with the storm, they're taking it down, replacing it, and going slowly but surely moving it along. But I'll tell you this much, and this is nothing against Mr. Dewey over there, when I lived in Lake Valley across the street, as you know, that's a beautiful area, all their power lines are underground. Guess what? One goes out here over in this road, I still lost power even though it was underground. So you have to bring everything underground. That doesn't take time. It takes time, it takes money. And then as the technology changes, you're finally getting a 10-year approval from all the board and the paperwork and everything to get this installed that you paid for. Guess what? It's already outdated when you break ground.
Any more questions for the council candidates here?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, young lady.
My name is Jet. My father is a police officer in Pemberton Township. I've been in Pemberton Township for 10 years. And I want to know what you guys plan to do for kids.
For kids? Who wants to take the
I can tell you, I'm forced, anything to do with children, fishing, sports, I'm 100% behind. I've been dealing with the police department. I have acquired quite a bit of sporting things, and I'm trying to get with the police department. To give you an example, I got a lot of basketballs. And my idea is every police car have 3 or 4 basketballs in them, and baseball gloves, and baseballs. So when they're riding around and things aren't busy in the town, and they see a group of kids playing basketball, I'd like to see the officer park the car, open his trunk, and shoot hoops with the kids. And then when he's done, leave the basketball. I'll give you another one. If you see children out playing, which you don't hardly see anymore because they're all doing this, right? But, you know, if they got baseballs and gloves in the thing, start playing catch with the kids. Because the police are very, very good people. But they get a bad rep, that they're bad guys that are not the bad guys. And I would love to see our police department interact with the kids in this town. And I will do anything I can to help make that happen. And I am working on it.
I'd like to see some more rec games going on in town, having kids, together and dealing with, and playing and doing things in town, meeting and having loads of fun. I just think we need more rec going out for rec teams and stuff.
So we have someone in the borough, some of you might know her, Jasmine Poole. She has the youth center in the borough, and she does have events. She just had one, Peace on the Street, so and you know, that's something that she's doing, but she did it at the Nesbitt Center, she did it in our location. I would like to see us have many more events just like that, where we can involve the youth, where we can have the youth even come to the meetings. I think, I commend you for being here tonight at this meeting. I applaud you for that, because you're getting to see, what us adults are doing. But it's important, because you live in this world too. Everything that happens, every decision affects you, your family, your mom, your dad, your siblings. So that's one thing I would like to see for our township, to have more events. We had the fishing derby, which was great, which speaks to what you were saying about fishing and how the youth love that.
It should be more than once a year.
Right, but I'm saying we should have a lot of events, more events to involve the youth, to help them understand, even doing civic things, even being involved in parades, or being involved, whatever it is, because you're growing up to be an adult, you're an important part of our community, and you're a citizen too. So what better way to learn and to see it is to be exposed, you know, to all these events and hear the conversations. And you got Mom right there, you know, explaining stuff to you, so I'm really impressed that you're here, and that you got up and had the courage to ask the question, because that's enough.
Are you old enough to vote?
Tracy, you got anything to add to that, or? And just as a side note, I mean, with our rec department has expanded this year. I know they have some programs going on, chess club this year. You know, you'd have to go on the rec website, I don't know what else they've added this year, but they've been actively trying to get more things for the kids and the adults alike. Michael, aren't you tired of raising your hand? Go ahead, what do you got, Michael?
No, sister.
Go ahead, Michael.
Has anyone ever looked into like going to the merchants that everybody has in this town, like the Acme and the bigger companies, to see if they would donate some money where we could get tickets to maybe take a couple busloads of kids up to the Trenton Thunder? I think they would love something like that. It's local and it's nice up there. The township has the school buses that sit there all summer, and I think you could probably take them up in that.
Funny you said that. There's a family in the town, Eugene, Willits, and Jody. We grew up together, so you know how old they are. So I was reading Jody's post, and her grandson, her 2 boys grew up in Rounds Mills. They were excellent baseball players for Pemberton Township High School. Chris, he's doing fine, but he got hit with cancer, but he almost made the majors.
Wow.
Well, his grandson, Bugs' grandson, is pitching the 25th at Thunder, Trenton Thunder. Throws a 94-mile-an-hour fastball.
Wow.
And there's a whole bunch of us going there to watch the game and support the Wills family. So, you know, that's,
Well, so I've been up to, I go maybe a couple times a year up there.
yeah. Well, we like the blue calls.
I like the blue calls better.
Yeah.
But, and I don't believe that, at one point, the tickets weren't terribly expensive, and I think he,
$5 to park the car, the tickets are $20, the food's reasonable, you know. We always take the grandkids,
yeah,
and, I don't know, I think it's $30 to put their name on the marquee, right, for straight A's for the whole year.
yeah.
So they, you know, they get a big thing and, you know, it's, pretty neat. But I love kids in sports, and, I was telling Billy, you know, when our kids were growing up, I kept them busy. You know, dance lessons for my daughter, daddy dances and all this stuff, and this and that, baseball. And she says, "You gotta slow up." And I said, "Honey, it's cheaper than attorneys. I want to be involved with the kids, you know? And I'd rather put the time and the money in for the kids."
But we said with the fishing, that's a perfect thing there.
You know, I mean, I didn't have the fun these kids have because I was part, you know, grew up in a family business. You know, they always found something for me to do, you know, but that's life, but I'm happy with my life,
Yeah.
you know, but, and I'm happy that I can do this for my kids.
Yes, Mr. Costa.
First of all, Dan and Harry, it's well past your bedtime.
Apparently you forget how late the council meetings go some nights.
Well, yeah, you know.
Is that it?
No, if it ever came to a vote for the fire department, would you ever vote to create a paid fire department? And if so, could you guarantee that we would not have fire districts if
The
that
only-
ever were to happen?
The only way that I could see it would be the year AD.
Oh,
That's after Dewey. Okay, because I've been here my whole life. And I don't see where we need one. There's different ways to handle it. And, I pay enough taxes now.
I was only
You know,
asking because
if I
we
wanna
gave a
pay
50
big
grand.
taxes, I'll do the Morristown, but we don't need it. What we need is better people. That's all we need, and I can make it happen.
Millier,
Tracy.
Tracy.
Honestly, I wouldn't say I would or I wouldn't. I would actually have to read into, see if we can afford that. If we can't afford that, then absolutely not. If we don't have, I mean, there's other things that we can use that money for, like making sure we have enough firehouses in each point of our town, that we don't have to wait 20 minutes to call the fire department because nobody's gonna show up. So those are things that I would look into, not so much being paid, but of,
I'm just going.
you know, opening up and making sure that we're all safe.
Right.
So, that's where I.
Noah, your thoughts on the fire department?
No, I was just talking to Dan about, the potential of a hybrid. Some townships have hybrid.
Like per diem? Like per
Partially
diem?
paid.
Well, we have that now.
You know, but, I have to say, I agree with Dan. I don't think, we can't afford it. We just can't afford that right now.
I'm gonna tell you something that's really aggravates me. Shared services. We pay Pemberton Borough $50,000 a year for shared service. It's a 1 square mile town. And we pay them $50,000 plus we have to give them, so much maintenance and fuel. So I could never get the answers, right? Shared services, how many recalls did they have? I wanted to know, how many actual fires did they come to Pemberton Township for? Or if they were called and they were recalled and they turned around at the college. right? We pay everybody, you know, they're just making a deal with Chatsworth for, shared service for ambulance service with the thing. No money exchanges hands, you know? The only one that benefits is Capital Health. You know, I don't know what the deal was that they set up, but I know that there's no money coming our way. But Capital Health is gonna make money because they're picking up more customers. But we pay the borough $50,000, and it's wrong.
Well, we pay them because we don't have a firehouse over at that end of the town,
Well,
so we would need to figure out a way.
talk to
get
Mr. Patriarca, we had 2 over there, and he shut them down.
I know,
Okay?
I agree.
I mean, but this is, the people, this is how their brains work. You know, they make decisions, they don't think nothing out. And it's stupid.
10 years down the line, what's gonna happen now?
Well,
Nobody on
what's
that
gonna
side of
happen
town
with-
has.
What's
a
gonna happen
firehouse.
with the Greenberg? You got 500 houses coming, right? So there's another $1 million fire truck, and then he'll want this and want that.
Yeah.
You know, but, you know, when they were negotiating, you should have made that up front with the developer. Okay, how bad do you want these houses? You know, we need a $2 million fire trucks, and we need this and this. Take it or leave it.
We just need smart decisions.
Well-
That's what we need to do,
We're
and
gonna
that's
play
what
out
I'm
the whole
gonna bring.
video.
I- You guys, yeah.
You
but
better
smart
vote for us
decisions.
3 then.
Smart decisions.
I have a question.
Yes.
I'd like an answer from all of you. So, they're talking about getting rails to trails and switching it for property next to the township, which I don't know how many acres the property is by the township. Does anybody up there know? And number 2 is, are you in favor of this? Because they wanna give this, rails to trail to the county, and for a piece of regular land, this is a beautiful piece of property, miles long, the only place in Pemberton Township where you can ride a bike without having to be worried about getting hit by a car. And they wanna swap this land. I'm not in favor of it right now. I'd like to learn more about it and find out, why the hurry. Right now, that land that next to Township building, they let us do whatever we want on it anyway. They wanna swap this land with the county. We don't even know what they're gonna do with the college yet. I don't trust this. I don't know what the big hurry is. And I want to know from each of you, are you in favor of swapping a regular piece of land for pristine? These are probably hundreds of year old trees, they're beautiful, it's a beautiful place to walk or ride your bike.
Well,
Take the grandkids, take the kids, and I hesitate to swap this with the county. And the other thing, I'm gonna say one more thing about that. As far as getting county to do anything around here, Mr. Dewey, you already said what's wrong with Junction Road. How come that's not cleared up yet? They're fixing up one pipe across the road.
well,
Now,
it's a,
that's what I have to
well, it's
say.
a county road. And I was talking to the head operator, and he said the biggest problem that they had, they couldn't get the township to move a water pipe, so they, you know, they had to change the design on the bulkheads and everything. That's the story that I heard. But let's go back to your first question. The property, I mean, 2 pieces of property. The property next to the municipal building where we have Touch a Truck, St. Anne's Carnival, and anything that goes on does not belong to the township, it belongs to the county.
How
Okay?
many acres is that?
Pardon me?
How many acres is that piece of property?
I don't know, but I can find
About.
out. But let me finish, right? So the other piece of property that we don't own is the baseball field and the playground. That belongs to the county also.
Imagination Kingdom belongs to the county?
Yes, ma'am, okay? And one of the things that I get a little upset about, you know, we spent a lot of money there, we spent a lot of money for lights that still don't work, and, you know, I'm still trying to get answers for that. But, my idea, if we, all we're giving up is the trail, Michelle. And at the meeting, we wrote up that we want to make sure that the county maintains it to our standards because our public works does a great job with the trail. Right? So we added that on the ordinance, right?
Yeah.
Because we would be better off with that ground next to the municipal building. The trails, it's only a trail, they're not getting a lot of ground, they're just getting a trail.
And no woods on either
Not
side of it?
woods, they're getting a trail, because they want to extend it, you know, to Smithville, Delanco, or whatever, right? They can't go that far on the other side, okay? So I'm in favor of that, because the trails will get completed, and the county wants to own it, let them own it. But we wrote in the ordinance, was it ordinance or was it resolution?
Ordinance, yeah.
That they were gonna hold their feet to fire to maintain those trails in Pemberton Township as good, if not better, than what our guys did. And that's in writing, okay? That's the second thing. So, during the budget hearings, there was talk about a splash park. And that almost blew the top of my head off, right? But my thing is, if we get this land, I would rather take the $500,000 they want to budget for a splash park, and let's put an amphitheater in. You can put it in the far corner, you're not gonna affect any houses, you got the hospital, they're not gonna hear it. You have a beautiful field, if it's mowed, people can come with their chairs, and we can entertain the entire population, right? You could have bluegrass or piney music or a big band, right? And that, you know, you're talking about bringing people into the town, that would do it. You got plenty of parking in the parking lot on weekends, because there's nobody there, and you got plenty of parking across the street at the ball field, and hopefully, you know, when we're having a show there, the lights are on in the ball field, if we have them going in 2 years, where people can walk across the street with their chair set up. You can have a couple food wagons there. And I think it would be an asset to the town. I'd rather have that than a splash pad. Right? That's my stick.
Well, is everybody, are the other two people up there in favor of that as well, Tracy and Millie? Because like I said, we got this trail that we own, that we maintain, and I think they do a good job maintaining it. If there's a tree in the middle, I call, it gets fixed right away. And then, like I said, I don't trust the county, they're not telling us what to do with the college, and are you saying that they're gonna give us that piece of land next to the township building and the baseball field?
Not yet.
And the playground, or what is the deal?
That's the next thing we're gonna try to get.
So you can't make the deal until, you're not gonna make the deal with them
I'm
until they
pretty
do
sure
the
they're gonna
playground and the
make the
baseball
deal for the
field?
field, right?
I mean, right now, and this is a deal we're trying to get corrected. It started back in 2009, and at one time, that administration was gonna give away the old train station with it. We told them, no, we wanna keep the historic train station and stuff. So right now, we're just swapping a piece of ground next to the township building for the trails. They're gonna keep the trail, you know, keep it a trail. It's only, I think, 30 feet wide area along there is all they get. And, you know, we're, like Dan said, we put in the stipulations that they have to maintain it up to our standards.
So you're not gonna give us the ball field
That wasn't part of the original deal.
You're not gonna give us the playground or the ball field?
We're gonna be working on that, Michelle.
So right now, it's not included, right?
It's not included.
No.
So when you gonna sign about this, after you do, when's that gonna be at the meeting, tomorrow night? or
Second
next?
reading is August 5th. We had to give it time to get that correction put in there that we asked to put in there, so to be on the August 5th meeting.
Okay, well, just to let you know, like I said, I'm trying to, are you sure they're gonna keep it a walking trail?
Yes.
It's always gonna be a bike
It's gonna-
trail?
Yes.
You can't do anything else with it?
It's gonna go all the way to Riverside.
They want to continue and make it bigger and better, so it goes further, yeah.
Is that written in the contract that they can't do anything different with that? They own it, they can do whatever they want with it, right?
It's preserved.
It's trails.
Yeah, it's a trail system that they've always wanted to have it to make it better. Yeah.
So this is their idea to make the swap,
Yes.
not ours?
Their idea.
It was their idea started back in 2009 with the
Don't you
previous
think you should
administration.
wait to see what they're gonna do with the college before you sign that contract?
No,
Totally separate
totally
situation.
separate deal.
You don't think that you should wait and see what they're planning to do with the college before you give
Snooze,
them?
you
They're not,
lose.
they're not gonna tell you. They're not, they're gonna do what they want with the college.
We have no control over that college.
I thought we did, because it's only zoned for a certain thing, they're supposed to get back to me and let me know what it's zoned for, but they didn't yet.
Hopefully I'm still alive when they make the decision.
Okay, that's all, thank you.
Anybody else?
Is
have-
Millie and Tracy in favor of this swap?
We
To
agree,
do it
I
right
agree
now?
with what Dan is saying.
Yeah, I agree with Dan, we're saying with that. I think you're gonna benefit from it. I think you're gonna be happier than what you are right now.
And the contract is very specific
Yeah.
about what we expect. So,
Okay, well, we're giving up a beautiful pristine piece of property for a plain old piece of land, but whatever, I'm not in favor of that right now. I wanna see what
It
happens.
might be better for you, Michelle, you might be able to really go.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
you might really be able to go.
All the way to Riverside.
Yeah.
I can do that now, whether they listen or I listen, what you talking about?
Well, I'm just saying, they'll have it all cleaned up and everything's like a straight, the way they put that in the contract. Yeah.
Did we do good?
Yeah.
anybody else with questions or comments or
Or they can just talk.
vote for us? You can talk to us afterwards if there's any other questions you want to have.
Thank you for attending. Please give me the opportunity to serve you 4 more years. I need my girls with me.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. I appreciate you guys giving us the time to hear. Thank you.
We have some literature up front, so you don't forget who we are.